Hey, good morning, everybody. Cash has been removed as a payment option at hundreds of station car parks around the UK. Not in absolutely every location, but in a significant number of stations. Now, it used to be just a few years ago, if you wanted to park your car in a station car park and get the train, you could pay in cash. You could go to the person sitting behind a desk in the station, or a real person, and pay them cash. They would give you a ticket. You go back, put it on your car, and that would be your parking paid for. And of course, people did this. It's quite expensive to park in station car parks, but of course, for many people, it's the only option because there is nothing else around a lot of stations. There's no other possibility of parking apart from in the station car park. Well, that was a few years ago. Then what happened is this company called APCOA has taken over the running of a lot of station car parks. My local station, lots and lots of stations, particularly in the southeast, the southwest, Midlands and north as well, all over the country, has taken over the running of these car parks. And they removed cash as an option to pay for parking. So when they took over, a lot of them, you couldn't go anymore to the ticket office because it was removed from the people that run the actual stations. It was regarded as a separate entity. So you had to actually pay in their machines. So recently, last year, at least, and before then, you could only pay with a card. They had machines. You'd park your car, you'd go to the machine, you'd stick your card on the machine, and then you get a ticket and put it in your car. Then last year in the autumn, I noticed some big information notices up saying the way that you will pay for parking is changing. Soon we're going to remove the parking meters, well, the parking payment meters, and you will only be able to pay on an app or by phone. And I thought, oh, come on, they're just doing this to see, how many people they can get to download their app on the smartphone. They're not actually going to do this and stop you from not just paying in cash, but being able to pay with your credit card or debit card on a machine as well. They're going to stop that. Come on, they won't do that. But they did it. And a couple of weeks ago, I went to my local station to get on a train, and I went to where the parking meter normally is, and it was gone. And I couldn't pay normally with a card. I mean, I would like the option to be able to pay in cash. They've taken that away, but now they've taken away the option just to pay normally with a credit card, or you either stick it in the machine or you do contactless payments. The only way you can now pay for parking is either through having this app. They want to get everyone onto an app, and then the app stores your data, and it stores your credit card number or debit card number. So you just push a button, and then it takes the money out of your account automatically. I mean, I don't like to do that. I prefer to pay cash where I can. I don't want to use apps. I hardly use apps at all. If you don't have that, you have to ring up a number and enter your credit card number over a phone line and pay that way. So what happens if you don't have a phone? If you don't have a mobile phone, you now have no option to pay for parking. And so, I mean, I didn't want to do this when I went in. Obviously, the first time this had happened, the machine was just gone. I didn't really have much of a choice apart from to, leave the car park, drive around, find somewhere to park probably half a mile away and walk back. So because I was in a hurry to catch a train, because I was going to London, I needed to get there, on time for something, I had to use my phone to stick my card number in and all the security details, and then the registration number of my car as well on the phone, which I don't really want to do. And then they digitally say, oh, you've got a parking space until the end of the day. I did that once again. Unfortunately, I was a couple of weeks later. I was kind of in a hurry again, so I parked in the station car park. So, oh goodness, I'm going to have to ring up the phone number again. So I did, and well, the first thing it did is we recognise this number as your registration. This is your registration number at location. Because every parking car park has got a location number. And is this correct? If so, press 1. So they actually stored against, they must have some database against my phone number. They'd actually stored my car registration number and the location where I last parked my car, so that if I called up again, that would sort of be brought up on the phone. So I never gave permission, as far as I know, for them to store my car registration number and where I parked before, but obviously it must be in the small print or something. You can't read it if you're in a hurry and you just want to get you need to park your car because you got 2 minutes to catch a train. So this is kind of what is happening, now in this circumstance, that you are no longer able to use cash, and they've kind of got a captive market, which I'm very unhappy about. If I were in charge, obviously I hope I will be one day, with the Heritage Party and everyone who's joining, who's standing to be candidates in elections, we're going to make a challenge to all of these other parties that are letting this happen and want this to happen. They want to drive towards a cashless society. I don't. What we need to do is make a law that says, if you park your car in a car park, or if you are going to a shop or a restaurant or a cafe, anything which is physical. I mean, obviously you can't do this for online services, but anything that's physical, that would include car parks, that would include, any physical retail outlet where you buy physical stuff. They must provide an option for you to pay in cash. So they wouldn't be able to remove the payment machines. They would have to have payment machines, and you would have to be able to use cash, or they would have to provide an option for you to use cash in those payment machines. But this is a move to actually bring in a cashless society bit by bit by bit, because people might think, oh, well, it's only a few hundred car parks. Well, yeah, that's a lot, actually, and there's probably 2 million, parking tickets or something sold in these car parks. That's what they actually say on their website. They boast 1.9 million parking tickets sold every year at their so something like 650 car parks around the country, mostly in stations and, but other places like, some shopping centres, some airports as well. They control the car parks there. So I haven't been to all 650 of them, but I assume, from all the ones I've seen and all the ones I've heard, they've removed the cash machines. They've removed even the card payment machines, as I said, and you can only pay one way or another using a smartphone. That should not be allowed. They must provide an option for you to pay in cash. So yeah, this is just a little bit, one thing here that you have to use if you want this service. You don't have an option. You don't have a choice. You either do it or you miss your train. They should be compelled by law to provide the ability for customers to pay in cash. But yeah, so the other things, I've noticed similar things happening in other situations. So, for example, I went to Bournemouth in the summer. I was speaking at a freedom rally by Bournemouth Pier there. And there's a little area where there are a lot of outlets, little cafes, restaurants, and so on. Obviously, the whole area is owned by the council. So, the people who run the businesses there, they obviously probably have a a contract, to run businesses from these outlets near the pier. What the council did recently, or last year or so, Bournemouth, there's a new council, Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council, is they've said all of the shops and outlets near the pier are only allowed to use card payments. No one is allowed to buy anything in cash, even like a bottle of water. So if you're there, you want, you just want something to drink, you have to use a card. They won't accept cash in all the outlets around Bournemouth Pier, which I think, again, is absolutely deplorable. Because, one, it's choice. Two, some people are not able to have cards. There's over 1 million people in the UK who don't have a bank account, so they won't have a cash payment card, a credit card or a debit card. So they are discriminated against, and the people that are discriminated against in that way are mostly poorer people and older people, because those are groups where there's a significantly higher percentage of people who don't have a card, a payment card. So they are not able to go and buy a bottle of water from a shop near Bournemouth Pier. And I assume that there's other places around the country where I've heard this as well. I walked through Paddington Station, some of the shops there, they don't accept cash, they're cash only. There's some coffee outlets I've heard of that are not accepting cash as well. And so this is a piecemeal erosion of our ability to have the freedom to use cash. And of course, cash is convenient. Cash is also freedom. If you pay for something in cash, it's not traceable. Every digital transaction that takes place, it goes into a computer somewhere. So some big data crunching organization with algorithms can analyze you and what you spend on and get information about you and your behavior and so on. And ultimately, people up in the World Economic Forum and so on want to bring in what they call ESG scores, essentially social credit scores, environmental, social and governance scoring, so that they will know everything you spend, and then they will give you carbon credits and so on, and tie this to what they call is the climate emergency, and then cap your spending on certain things. So if you go over your carbon limit, for every item you spend will have some carbon points or something. If you go over it, you won't be allowed to do any more spending. You won't be allowed to spend any more money that month or something. This is actually what some people want for the future. Now, at the moment, there is a lot of talk in the UK of bringing in central bank digital currency. And there is a consultation going on at the moment, which is being run by the Treasury and the Bank of England, that closes on the 7th of June. So in the paper for the consultation, which is about 100 pages long, they're talking about building a new public and private infrastructure for a central bank digital currency to be implemented. They say it will sit alongside cash and they're not going to get rid of cash. But of course, the agenda ultimately is to get rid of cash. And you see it disappearing little bit by little bit by little bit. So we got to, focus back in on the small things that are happening to understand the big agenda. So they will say, oh, there's no worries, we're going to allow you to use cash, we're going to bring in central bank digital currency, but don't worry, it's not going to affect how you live. But it's already affecting how we live, because already companies, shops, outlets, councils, car parking owners all over the place are removing cash as an option to pay. Another thing, just another example. I mean, I'm going to the Freedom Rally, I guess it is, in Oxford, the rally against these 15-minute neighbourhoods at the weekend. No, I'm going to be taking a lot of stuff with me for the Heritage Party, so I need to drive there and I need to park in the centre of the city when I go to it, because I'm going to have, I would normally just get the train, but I'm going to have so much that I simply can't carry it all about my person. So I'm going to have to take a car and park in a car park in Oxford city centre. I looked up the prices. It's absolutely extortionate to park there for a day, but I'm going to have to do it just as a one-off. But they also have said there they have stopped taking cash payments. So I'm going to pay a huge amount of money to park in Oxford, but the local council have removed the ability to pay in cash for parking. And I looked up on their site, and they actually use this kind of language that we're doing a pilot scheme in these car parks, and if it's successful, we will eradicate cash as a payment option. So eradicate is a very strong word. I mean, it's a word you normally use about a disease or something really bad. But here's Oxford City Council, talking about eradicating cash, like that's some kind of good thing, and it's all tied in with their net zero policies and so on, which is wanting, part of this is wanting to get everybody onto digital payment systems for everything all the time. And, just a little bit by a little bit. It's like eating a pizza, isn't it? You eat one chunk at a time. You don't notice it going down in size until, half of it's gone. And then suddenly, where's it gone? And then suddenly the other half's gone and there's nothing left. So the plan is, it seems, very slowly, bit by bit, cash will be removed until, whenever, 2030, 2035, who knows, probably 2030, because everything seems to be moving according to this Agenda 2030. So when we get to 2030, it seems that the plan is, but some people, not stated openly, but just practically you can see it, is to remove cash as an option almost everywhere. So then, people just use it less and less, and then they bring in this digital slavery system where you don't have a choice but to use the central bank digital currency, which will then come online when they've eradicated cash, as Oxford City Council so helpfully tells us that is what they subconsciously are thinking. They're thinking it's a bad thing they need to get rid of, rather than sort of the mollifying words in the consultation from the Bank of England. Oh, well, no, we won't remove cash. It was just something convenient for everybody to sit alongside it, as new payment methods and technologies evolve. What a load of nonsense that is. The way for us as people to defeat this kind of total surveillance, total slavery system is to keep on using cash. Use it more. They tried to get people to use it less over the lockdown periods by removing some ability to pay cash in some places then. There was even propaganda that said, cash notes spread COVID. What a load of nonsense that is. I mean, really. But some people actually bought it, and they were absolutely terrified of handling bits of paper that someone passed to them because it might have a virus on it. But then, they were sort of like, touch each other's masks and stuff like that, which is like a far more likely to be transmitting something than breathing in other people's air, wherever. I don't know. It was all completely ridiculous. Some of the things they said in that period is like, oh, you must wear a mask if you're standing up, but you can take it off when you're sitting down, and then you put it on the table next to your food. Really? And then you're scared of like handing over a £10 note to somebody when you're eating food next to where like 4 people's masks are on the table next to your knife and fork and dinner plate. Really, what a load of nonsense. But that's the kind of insane, ridiculous propaganda that comes at us from all of these places that try to get us one way or another to give up cash. Don't give up cash. Use it more. What little thing that I'm doing now, I mean, I used to just go and buy everything in the supermarket, not thinking about it. But what I do now, there's a butcher's near me, and I buy my meat from the butcher's, and I pay cash. And there's a greengrocery shop near me, and I buy my fruit and vegetables from there, and I pay cash. And you know what? The food that I get from there is of such a higher quality than the stuff you get in the supermarket. I mean, you might not notice it so much if you start eating food from the local butcher that gets it from the local farm and the local greengrocer. You say, okay, well, this is better. I like this, this tastes better than what I get in the supermarket. But you really notice it when you go back. One day, after buying sort of meat from my local butcher, which I do now, I went back and I bought, just for convenience, I was, in the supermarket getting some tins and stuff, and I bought a packet of meat from the supermarket, and I had it, and I thought, this is absolute rubbish, compared to, I got used to the taste of meat coming from the local farm that my local butcher sold, and fresh fruit from the local greengrocers, which actually lasts a lot longer than stuff that you get from the supermarket. But when I went back and just one time ate some chicken from the supermarket, I thought, this tastes disgusting compared to what I get from my butchers, which I pay for in cash. Because the big supermarkets are also trying to corral you into using cards all the time, and making it more difficult, psychologically and actually to pay cash for certain things. And a lot of them are getting rid of people who used to serve you on the tills, and now you just go through self-service and you just stick your card through a machine, dehumanizing the process and forcing you to make digital transactions. This is all part of the psychological nudging, whatever you like to call it, to get you to do this. So use more cash all the time, wherever you can. Shop more locally, use more cash, and this surveillance slave system will be defeated. I don't know how you do this at the local stations, because you don't have a choice. That's the problem. In some places, they're taking away the choice for you around transport hubs and certain places. Like I said, Bournemouth Pier, railway stations and airports and so on. It's difficult to fight the system there where you don't have a choice. So if anyone's got any thoughts on what to do about that, please do let me know. But my thoughts are, obviously we need to take big action politically, as well as the small actions every day of just using our cash. We need to make legislation that says everyone must provide cash in physical outlets, where anything that's offline, cash must be an option. And so we need to get rid of the parties in Parliament at the moment that are just letting this happen, and they're not doing anything to stop it. So please do join me in the Heritage Party to stand up for our freedoms. heritageparty.org, you can join us there, look at our manifesto. Please give me a thumbs up for this video and like my channel as well. Again, I've spoken for too long, but thanks if you got to the end. Okay, and have a good day. God bless you all.